Dubov has sacrificed a piece, so this is pretty fascinating.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, I think we should stay on this game.
You're about to see what happens when a creative genius in the form of Daniil Dubov runs into the positional magician Magnus Carlsen, world number 1. They met in the FIDE Teams Championship 2024. Extra spice because Daniil is a second of Magnus Carlsen, worked with him for many years. Let's check out this brilliant rapid play over the board game. Magnus opens with the king pawn and he only goes and essays the Roy Lopez. Named after J-Lo's uncle, long-term viewers of the channel know. The bishop is kicked, and for anyone a bit newer to this opening, if you try and gobble a pawn, well, black wins it instantly back. So instead, the bishop backs up. Now the knight attacks the centre. Different moves here, like castles, but Magnus goes for this solid continuation, and with the pawn protected, there is a threat now to eliminate the knight and eat that king pawn. So now we get the expansion over here, kicking back the sniper. You could put this one on the solid e7 square, but this is the more aggressive setup. Pawn c3 prepares to expand, sometimes tuck back the bishop. d6, castles, and now these are many of the moves that black can play. It's a rich position, like Christmas pudding. Dubov doesn't do any. He goes for the mysterious rook move. Great way to get inside your opponent's head and freak them out. Now we see knight b to d2. Castles is played. Quick king safety fist bump. Shared by the players. Exploded out. Brilliant, friends. Now we see the Rook e1 and the great knight rotation begins. Magnus so impressed he copies. And after the knight hits this square, we note a couple of things. Centre still protected. Maybe one day it can join an attack, but more importantly, you mobilise the pawns now, especially the c pawn. Now pawn h3 to give the king some room, take an important square. The bishop backs up, pawn a4 nibbles away at the centre there, and after h6 you could already expand in the centre, but Magnus plays the top move of Sir Stock Fishface. Pawn a5. This is some deep stuff. It's a real thing of beauty to see two of the top players in the world sparring toe to toe here. Now this one advances, sets up those central diamond hands. Both players hodling for dear life. That's holding on for dear life. Who's going to buckle first on those diamond hands in the centre? Magnus goes knight g3 and it's Daniil. He explodes the board with c4, kicks back the bishop, and just for good measure, he now plays this one. Before you can say Bob Yasser Ross is your uncle. Now the problem here is that although it looks like you're squashing the white pieces, Magnus is well prepared and he fights back with this incredible rook lift. He rips off his shirt, flexes, showing how powerful he is, and Daniil now has to kick on, put this bishop in jail. It's move 19. They look horrendous, but this is a little weak. Queen c7 defends it, and Magnus is just in time with queen to e2. If you weren't in time to win that pawn, if black could arrange a rook move right now, you'd be struggling. But after the bishop comes here, this is the game. The pawn pushes, kicks this one back, does open this guy unfortunately. Rook's also under fire, but this pawn drops, the base of this mini chain. However, Daniil wins this one. It's an exchange of prisoners, a fascinating battle, and knife f5 now from Magnus Carlsen. And it offers an exchange sacrifice, because you could play bishop b4. This didn't happen in the game. We're in analysis mode. Now this pawn collapses, and although this rook drops, after knight takes, picking up a tempo on the queen, you can then get some kind of line like this. Second pawn collapsing. Yes, black wins this if they want. Best move. But now bishop f4. and there's some nasties going on down this diagonal, all sorts of tactics flowing. Actually, it's a bit better for white. So no bishop b5. Instead, bishop takes on f5, pawn recaptures, and this would seem to be the more tried and tested, solid, steady move. But not played. This was played. Understandable. It's blitz chess. You want to go forwards, not backwards, and get squashed, even if you compromise your structure here. But white sits a tad better now. The pawn's a little discombobulated. Rook d1 looking really natural. You know, this pawn's going to drop soon. There's 2 pieces on it, no defenders. But Magnus plays rook f1. Real deep move, just keeping pieces on the board. The queen is hit. She slides over here. Magnus keeping tabs with the back rank. It is important in many lines. And now the best move is knight takes. Not so easy for white to find improving moves after that. Somehow the bishop is a little stymied by this pawn. But queen takes is played. Are you a nutter? Giving Magnus a queen exchange. Not ideal when you're playing the endgame go. But this is what Dubov has got planned. The knight is attacked. Surely you move it. No siree. This is where he unleashes his brilliancy. He plays the move of rook e2.
Pooh, what a move. What a move.
Magnus gobbles up the free piece, and here, I was about to say Dubov reveals his point. Now this looks really natural, right? But after takes, then this one can actually land here, and the king is really cut. This is on tap. It's a bit unpleasant. So Magnus does well to step this way. King h2 was also possible. Probably he didn't like the look of some checks maybe. So this is how the game proceeded. B pawn drops, and it's excellent judgment by Daniil that these pawns are giving him enough play. He's actually got 3 pawns for the piece when you do a count. So bishop e3 was selected. Many moves, but he decides to select this one. Give himself a bit of a pope there. Surely more than a bishop at this stage. What a monster. Rook c6 from Magnus. a5, of course. Run the connected passes. And after takes, a4 seems natural. Then Magnus swings behind. Different game. But rook c2 was played. Now it's a real tricky move. Low on time, by the way. Idea being, if takes, pawn takes, you're hitting a rook. You're also making a queen, so that rook's going to end up dying, and black is winning. So don't take. You could, though, do this, check, and it's actually a winning move, because you force the king here, then f6, and suddenly, whoops, if I could draw arrows, there are pins going on down the light squares, and knight e1 comes. Won't go into the whole line, because Magnus missed the move. He plays knight e5. That's why it gets the blunder marks here, but it's still the second best move. Rook f8 was now played, conscious of this sort of pressure. c4 from Magnus. a4 surely, screaming to be played. Again, you can swing around behind soon. But rook e2 from Duda. Knight f3, they're scrambling. Can't be judging too hard. Bishop c5, rook now saved, and bishop b4. Holds the pawn. Still a nasty bishop, doing some stuff on the chocolate squares. c5 offers an exchange of prisoners. Not gone for. Duda goes for this. Pawn c6, king f8, king h2. And now he swings this one around, trying to collect this advanced pawn. Magnus fights back against this one. This rook doubles on the file. Knight e5 played. Ideas of defending, but also check. f6 is wanted by the all-powerful engine, but it gets very weird. In the game, we saw pawn b2, rook b6 now, king e7 marching in, but Magnus with a check, and he's really starting to turn the screw now. His extra piece being felt, the pawns are blocked. In some lines, the bishop swings here, and they converge, and it's now curtains. because after king f6 hitting the knight, a deadly mating net is woven. A little better was some take stuff, but it really wasn't easy. This is how the game proceeded. King g5, you could play an immediate f6, quickest way to the kill, but this one is played, setting up the discovery. And if you try and stop the pawn advancing, well then anyway the rook can swing back and you've got problems here. So takes is best, something like this. And the trouble is the king is in jail. The pawns are under control. So this knight is free to just spin round to wherever it wants. And eventually the black position collapses. You lose material. King can also join the party. So we didn't see f6. Bishop e1 played. Now f6, discovered check. King goes here. Knight e5 played, and be careful. If you capture the pawn, hit the knight, it's checkmate in one. Never mind the fact that you were getting forked as well. So check is played, king back, and pawn g5. And now if knight f3 check, it's not a mate because you can step back and the rook has been blocked. So we saw rook takes here, rook takes, rook b7. You'd love to take, but you can't. So this, but then this, and it's just collapsing over here like a house of cards. This is threatening a mate in one, and what to do? If you step back with the king, the bishop joins on the light squares, and this forces through the mate, either like this or like this. Very picturesque. So you can't step in with the king. Bishop e1's actually best to run this way, but you still get soon killed. This was played in the game to give a square here, but after takes, king g5. Can you spot the checkmate in one? It's knight f7. Not only checking the king, but supporting the rook, which supports the pawn. The bishop covering all the light squares, namely f5. Pawns lapelling the king in. So really, really nice checkmate from Magnus Carlsen. Incredible battle. Saw this one when I was flicking through YouTube. And in case you missed this video on screen from the same tournament last year, out of this world good game, then do have a look at that one next. Thanks very much for watching and see you soon. Cheers.